Hello, I'm Dan Scott. I am a spiritual director and a therapist, and I have some really good news to share with you today. Over 2,000 years ago, a young Roman government official that was working actually in tax collecting and who was trained to record spoken speech out in the field, a type of shorthand of the ancient world, began taking notes of one of the most impactful declarations in all of human history, the sermon that we call the Sermon on the Mount, preached by Jesus Christ. Many years later, this young stenographer, who wasn't young anymore, and is known to us as St. Matthew, used these notes that he had taken to create a book on the life of Christ, and we call it St. Matthew's Gospel. And I want to say something brief about the very first sentence of the Sermon on the Mount. Its opening statement, and probably the premise of everything that follows in the rest of the message. Here it is. Blessed are the poor in spirit. What do we mean when we talk about poverty? Well, usually when we talk about poverty, we mean financial poverty. To be poor usually means that we don't have enough money to meet our needs or to meet the needs of our family. But what could poverty of spirit possibly mean? Well, it means that we don't have enough spirit to carry out what we believe needs to be done or should be done, what we ourselves believe about behavior and so forth. We don't have enough spirit to carry out the intentions that we honestly have. When that occurs, we feel like a loser. It means that we can't defeat our addictions. It means that we can't carry out our intentions. It means that we cannot live by our own convictions. I keep trying, but I fail. I think I'm going to do it this time, but it doesn't really happen. Jesus was saying at the very opening salvo of his message that is precisely what he expected from us. And he is saying, you are welcome. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Especially right now and all that's going on in our country and the world, there's much to depress us, much to overwhelm us, even to undo us. We can find ourselves not sleeping well. We can find ourselves walking around aimlessly. We can find ourselves without the willpower to carry out the responsibilities that we have for ourselves and for our family, for others. And paradoxically, this is the very moment that Jesus is talking about. When we realize that we need help from beyond ourselves, that we do not have sufficient energy in ourselves to carry out what needs to be done, that is precisely the moment when help arrives. That is when we can believe that God views us as worth helping. When we think we can take care of it ourselves, we may think well about God and others, but we're thinking about how we can bless God or bless others. But Jesus is saying that being poor in spirit is the human condition. All of us have strengths and all of us have weaknesses. But there comes a moment in life, sooner or later, to where we have to confront those weaknesses that we have been avoiding up till now. And we realize there's some things we cannot do on our own. Recognizing that we need God and that we need others to get well is paradoxically a kind of spiritual wealth. The perception that we can handle it on our own, that we're strong in spirit, is actually a profound illness of soul. The march toward health, the walk toward health, is the moment that we realize that we need help and that we're going to ask for help. We become open to receive the help of God and the help of others, and that's when help begins to come. I think one of the most perceptive statements in history that embodies this is the old hymn that many of us know from our childhood, "Just as I am without one plea." But the verse that always gets to me is this: "Just as I am, thou wilt receive, will welcome, pardon, cleanse, and relieve. And it's because thy promise I believe. O Lamb of God, I come, I come." So if you're feeling poor in spirit, wow, you're in a great place. I remember a moment a few years ago when, after being a pastor, after preaching a lot about living righteously and all, I realized there were parts of my life out of control, that there was nothing I can do about them. And you know, that turned out to be one of the most important moments of my life. And I asked for help. I asked for help from God, but in that moment that God was ready for me to ask help from other people. And I did, and I got that help, and so can you. So if you're poor in spirit and you know it, you're actually ready for a brand new adventure in God and with other people.